Hello, this is David Benign from Excel Consulting in Cambodia, and today I'm going to show you how to create dynamically expanding and dependent drop-down lists. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, so two things. Firstly, dependent. So dependent means that if I choose Cambodia here, I get a list of Cambodian cities, Phnom Penh. But if I choose Laos, I get a list of Laos cities. So it's dependent on what you choose in country is the city. The other one is expandable. So expandable means I've got 4 countries here, but if I type in, let's say Malaysia, then here I actually get the Malaysia option appearing down here. So it expands automatically. So how do I do those things? So firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make this into what Excel calls a table. So select your data, go to Insert Table. Click My Table as Headers, press OK. There are 500 reasons why using this is so important to being good at Excel. I talk about that in a couple of videos that I go through all about tables. They are absolutely fantastic, but you need to do it for this, but I'm not going to go through much more detail than that. So the next step is click on design and give it a name. So let's call it place or something, because it's country and then city. And then let's go into our data. So what I've done here is I've got some formulas, so I'm going to replicate it here. So if I do equals count A, and I select all of these, for example, I can see that the formula it's typing is place Cambodia. So name of table and then name of column. That's one of the things that's really great about these things. And if I say equals count A, and I put only the headers like that, it calls them place headers. Then I can do it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these cells, or hell, let's put it in let's put some borders around it like that. So these cells are going to be countries. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to go to data validation. This is a bit more advanced. So if you haven't used data validation before, I have other videos to explain that. So go to list, click on source, select. Now we're not going to click on source because that's not automatically expandable, sorry. So what we're going to do is, actually I'm going to cancel out of that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to see that the formula is referring to place and then headers like this. So I'm going to copy that, and then in country I'm going to go to data validation, list, and choose equals indirect. Indirect is the name of a formula that does a whole lot of things, but just bear with me, this is one of the things that it does. Equals indirect, open bracket, and then speech marks, then have paste that in, close your speech marks, close your brackets. What indirect does is it turns a cell reference or a named range back into the data that's in it. So here we're using it for data validation. Press OK, and there you have it like that. So that's step 1. Now we can test it. So I can add Myanmar like that, and I can see that it gets added there at the bottom. So it is dynamic in that range. This works as well if you have rows that you want to expand it for, so not only the headers. So I'm going to show you how to, you can see how to do that when I show you the city one. So the city one is a bit more complicated. So let's look at this formula. So I'm going to use a new formula called equals formula text that basically just converts a formula into something we can see. So here we can see it's called count A and then place, which is the name of the table, and then Cambodia. But if I say here equals count A and then go in this one, so this is called Laos, and yeah, I can see that varies depending on the name of the column. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that variable depending on what's chosen here. So let's give it some examples like that. There we go. So here I'm going to select these, go to data validation, go to list, choose equals, indirect again. And then we're going to say, well, we know that it has to start with speech marks and then place and then this open square bracket like that. And then the next bit is variable. So it's variable depending on the column name. So then we're going to close the speech marks, use an and sign to concatenate it together. Then we're going to click on the cell 014 and you're going to see why in a second. And then we're going to use and again, because after that we have to go back to closing it. So the way it closes is then by a final square bracket. So speech marks, square bracket, speech marks. Anytime you concatenate, you need to start and end with speech marks if you're using text. And then we'll close the brackets to finish our indirect formula and press OK. Let's see what that gives. So in Vietnam, I get the list of Vietnamese cities. Cambodia, I get a list of the other cities, of still the Vietnamese cities. I know what I did wrong. Let's select this. I can show you how to fix them. So click one, click back on data validation. And this is key. Apply these changes to all other cells with the same settings. Then it automatically selects these, which is fantastic. So we don't want the $sign, so I'm going to manually remove them. Sometimes Excel throws them in, sometimes it doesn't, because this needs to move depending on what row we're in. So press OK. So here we're in, oh, okay. I made a mistake there as well because my active cell was one below. So let's do, that one should be 14. There. There we go. Here it is, like that. Now, one thing you'll notice is there are blanks, which is not always what you want. But on the flip side, if I add a new one, then it will be in here, but the others will get more blanks. So if each list has a variable length, then this might not be desirable. For example, here we have Myanmar and no subsidies, so it's just a blank list. If you select it without any subsidies, it does give you all of them, but including all the blanks as well. So it can be neat. Someone can go directly into that. If you want to do it so that variable lengths are working okay, you need to use named ranges. This section here. Name manager, define name, create from selection. I have another video where I explain that as well, and I'll put a link to that as well. So great, thanks for watching.